Most people who find CNC equipment find it the same way. They're deep in a YouTube rabbit hole at 11 at night, and suddenly there's this guy in Indiana doing something to a machine that costs more than their house. They watch one video, then another, then they look at the clock and it's 2 a.m. and they know more about military surplus trucks than they ever planned to. But here's what almost nobody watching those videos stops to think about. How much money is actually changing hands? Not just the YouTube checks, the whole picture. Because Clint Chitwood has built something in Brown County, Indiana that most people completely misread. They see a YouTube channel. What's actually sitting behind that channel is an operation with revenue streams most creators could only dream about, and the YouTube money might not even be in the top 2. Let's break it all down. Clint Chitwood didn't stumble into this business. He grew up in Monroe County, a few miles from where the operation sits today. On farmland his family has worked for 7 generations. His father was in excavating. So from the time Clint was old enough to be out in a yard, heavy machinery wasn't unusual. It was just Tuesday. He launched CNC Equipment in 2004, initially focused on used civilian construction equipment. Excavators, dozers, loaders, the kind of machines that run construction sites and cost more used than most new cars. 4 years later, in 2008, he added military surplus vehicles to the inventory, decommissioned military trucks, Humvees, M35A2 2.5-ton trucks, 5-ton rigs, Unimogs, equipment that the government had finished with and was selling off through auctions, often for a fraction of what the machines were originally worth. That combination, construction equipment plus military surplus, turned out to be a niche with almost no competition and very loyal buyers. And then in October 2012, Clint started a YouTube channel. It didn't blow up overnight, but over the years it grew into something significant. Today, the channel sits at roughly 170,000 subscribers, with over 60 million total video views across more than 1,400 uploads. That's not Mr. Beast numbers, but in the world of heavy equipment content, it's a serious presence. And the way the channel is set up, it was never just about views. Before getting into the money, it's worth understanding how YouTube pays channels like this one. Ad revenue from YouTube, what's called AdSense, is calculated based on how many views a video gets and what advertisers are willing to pay to reach that audience. The rate per 1,000 views varies by niche, audience location, and time of year, and it's not something YouTube publicly discloses for individual channels. Third-party analytics tools try to estimate it. vidIQ, which is one of the more widely used platforms, puts CNC Equipment's estimated monthly AdSense earnings somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000. Other trackers land considerably lower. The honest answer is that nobody outside of Clint's Google AdSense account knows the exact figure. These are estimates and they can be way off in either direction. What matters for this video is understanding where YouTube fits in the overall picture. Even at the higher end of those estimates, $30,000 a month from AdSense is around $360,000 a year before taxes and before YouTube takes its cut. That's a solid income for a single creator, but CNC Equipment is not a single creator. It's a business, and AdSense is one line item in a much larger ledger. Clint posts roughly 2 videos a week. The content is almost entirely how-to, reconditioning equipment, diagnosing problems, walking through builds. It's educational in a way that pulls in people who actually work with this machinery, not just people who are entertained by it. That audience targeting matters because people who work with heavy equipment and military vehicles have purchasing power. They're not just watching. Some of them are shopping, something a lot of casual viewers don't realize. CNC Equipment has a second YouTube channel. It's dedicated entirely to equipment listings. No commentary, no how-to content, just vehicles for sale. It functions as a free video catalog that's indexed by YouTube's search engine and discoverable by anyone looking for specific makes or models. This is genuinely clever. Instead of paying for advertising to reach buyers, Clint essentially gets free placement in front of a self-selecting audience of people who are already searching for what he's selling. Then there's Patreon. CNC Equipment has a Patreon page where supporters can pay for early access to YouTube content. The exact subscriber count isn't public, but any consistent Patreon income, even a few hundred supporters at a few dollars a month, adds a layer of predictable monthly revenue on top of AdSense. Most creators at this level treat Patreon as supplemental. Whether Clint has invested heavily in building that side is unclear from the outside, but the page exists and has been running for some time. Sponsorships are a smaller but real piece as well. Companies like Hub Huggers have used CNC Equipment's platform to get their products in front of a niche but highly relevant audience. A channel with 170,000 subscribers in a high-engagement industrial niche is often more valuable to the right sponsor than a lifestyle channel with 10 times that audience, because the viewer is more likely to actually be in the market. Put all of this together and you're looking at a YouTube operation that, between AdSense, Patreon, and brand deals, could plausibly be generating anywhere from low six figures to mid six figures annually. But again, that's not where the big money lives. Here's where the picture changes completely. CNC Equipment keeps about 100 or more units in stock at any given time. The inventory rotates constantly. They buy heavy equipment in military surplus, sometimes at government auctions, sometimes private, recondition it and sell it. That reconditioning is the key. They're not just flipping machines as is. Clint and his team go deep on these vehicles. The shop has a CNC plasma table that can cut custom pieces from 3/4-inch steel. There's a machine shop on site, a decal room, steel tracks built into the floor to handle machines that weigh over 40 tons. What does this look like in terms of money? The customized military trucks, Clint's specialty, sell for $20,000 to $55,000 each. He said so himself in an interview, adding that the custom builds sell well because they're real eye-catchers. A single sale at the high end of that range is more than a lot of people make in a year at a regular job, and that's one truck. Then there are the larger pieces. Heavy dozers, excavators, cranes. The biggest machine CNC Equipment has ever sold was a 96,000-pound bulldozer, 30 feet long, over 12 feet tall, with a blade more than 13 feet wide. The sale price on a machine like that's not publicly disclosed, but equipment of that specification and size regularly trades for six figures. One transaction. Current listings on Machinery Trader, one of the major heavy equipment marketplaces, show CNC Equipment with a 2021 John Deere 26G excavator listed at $27,999 and a four-wheel drive backhoe loader at $46,999. Their main shop website, shop.ccsurplus.com, currently has over 500 active listings. That's not a small side operation. That's a functioning dealership. Beyond the equipment sales, CNC runs a dedicated parts business at ccsurplusparts.com. This is a separate storefront focused entirely on new and used components for military trucks, 2.5-ton and 5-ton series vehicles in particular. They stock thousands of individual parts and carry no back orders, which is notable because these are older vehicles and sourcing components for them isn't straightforward. There's also a full line of reproduction Jeep bodies and parts. Civilian and military Jeep body kits, fenders, windshield frames, tailgates, covering models from the CJ2A all the way to the M38 and GPW. This is a niche that barely gets mentioned when people talk about CNC, but it represents a consistent product line with its own separate customer base. They also have an eBay store where parts and equipment are listed separately. So to recap, ccsurplus.com, ccsurplusparts.com, shop.ccsurplus.com, eBay, Machinery Trader, and YouTube, 6 separate sales channels operating simultaneously. This is a multi-platform business that happens to also have a YouTube presence, not the other way around. One of the most surprising aspects of this operation is who's actually buying. Clint has said publicly that only about 20% of their customers come from Indiana. The rest are spread across the country and around the world. Part of that comes down to the type of equipment CNC specializes in. Older military surplus gear, particularly the 2.5-ton and 5-ton trucks, has a huge following internationally, specifically in developing countries and remote locations where newer equipment becomes a liability instead of an asset. Modern machines are loaded with emission systems, computer sensors, and proprietary software. If something goes wrong somewhere without a dealership for 100 miles, you're stuck. The older military equipment can be repaired with basic tools and mechanical knowledge. As Clint put it, it's simple, and that simplicity is worth real money to the right buyer. He's also become one of the country's most prolific Unimog dealers. In one interview, he said they've sold more than 100 Unimogs in a single decade. Unimogs, Swiss-German military and utility trucks known for being nearly indestructible in extreme terrain, aren't exactly common inventory for a small business in Indiana. Clint built a reputation in that market specifically, and buyers come looking for him. This is the part of CNC Equipment's model that's genuinely worth studying, regardless of whether you're into heavy machinery or not. Every video Clint posts is essentially a walking advertisement for the business, but it doesn't feel like one. That's the trick. A video about reconditioning a dozer is entertaining and useful on its own, but it also demonstrates Clint's competence to anyone watching who might be in the market for that dozer. A video showing a custom M35A3 military truck going through a full build doesn't just get 1.9 million views. It builds a case for why that truck is worth $50,000 when it's done. The audience isn't just watching. Some percentage of them are potential buyers who are slowly being convinced over weeks or months of watching that Clint knows what he's doing. The spy truck story is probably the best example of how this works. Clint bought a Ford pickup at a government auction. It looked normal from the outside. When they got into it, the camper shell was packed with computers, surveillance cameras, and other hardware, a legitimate government spy vehicle that had ended up in surplus. He made a video. It went massively viral. The government actually came to recover the remaining equipment. The result? Enormous exposure for the channel and the business, at zero marketing cost. That kind of thing doesn't happen by accident, but it doesn't have to. The channel is structured in a way where almost anything interesting that happens in the yard is content. The business generates the content drives traffic, the traffic converts to sales. It's a loop, and it's been running since 2012. So what does CNC Equipment actually make? The honest answer is that nobody outside of Clint and Bridgette's accountant knows the real number. The business is privately held and there are no public financial disclosures. But based on everything that's publicly verifiable, YouTube AdSense estimates, equipment pricing, the scale of the inventory operation, the multiple storefronts, the parts business, the international customer base, this is almost certainly not a six-figure operation. The equipment sales alone, if CNC moves even 20 or 30 significant pieces per year at average prices of $30,000 to $50,000, puts the gross revenue from equipment in the $600,000 to $1.5 million range before expenses. Add the YouTube income, part sales, and sponsorships, and the total picture gets bigger. What makes CNC Equipment unusual isn't just that it makes money, it's that the YouTube channel fundamentally changed the ceiling on how much the business could make. Before the channel, CNC was a regional equipment dealer with a website. After 10 years of consistent uploads and 60+ million total views, it's an internationally recognized brand in its niche. Clint didn't just build a YouTube channel. He built a global marketing engine for a business that was already profitable, and then let the two compound each other. Here's the thing about a business like this that rarely gets acknowledged in conversations about YouTube money. The YouTube revenue, whatever it actually is, comes with almost no incremental cost. The equipment is already there, Clint is already working on it, the shop is already running. Filming it and posting it costs time, not money. So even if AdSense is only generating $5,000 or $10,000 a month, a real possibility given how widely the third-party estimates vary, that's essentially found money layered on top of a business that would exist anyway. Most YouTubers have to build a business around their content. Clint built content around a business. That's a fundamentally different model, and it's one that's quietly much more defensible than a channel that lives or dies by the algorithm. The channel doesn't need to go viral every week. It doesn't need to chase trends. It just needs to keep showing people what's in the yard in Trevlac, Indiana, and let the search traffic do its job. Some of the most durable businesses on YouTube are the ones that were never really about YouTube to begin with.